Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
We are talking transfer quarterbacks this episode. We're going to go through 9 of the most intriguing in our eyes. Ryan, get us started. No particular order here, but who's our first guy?
First guy is DJ Youngale from transferring from Clemson to Oregon State. He's going to be in a tough battle with last year's starter at Oregon State, Ben Gulbranson. But DJU, he's got a shot to take over, I really think. Gulbranson really wasn't all that good. He was kind of a game manager-esque for them, and he threw 9 touchdowns in the 9 games that he was the main guy at quarterback. So under 1,500 yards, had 5 picks, isn't really a threat to run. So he was serviceable, but somebody was able to come in and definitely push him and maybe take his job. And DJU's could be that guy. Wasn't like DJU's stats were all that good or even really all a ton better than Gulbranson's, but he's clearly a better runner than him. And, no offense to the previous coaches at Clemson, but I think Jonathan Smith is a far better offensive coach than maybe what DJ's been having in the past. So I think kind of with DJ's skill set and the kind of maybe a little bit of a reset button here for him. And he did improve like over the previous years. So this last year was better for him. But I think Corvallis might be a better fit for him. So I think actually he's going to win the job, and I think it'll be kind of obviously an improved position for the Beavers this year.
Yeah, they also have a freshman quarterback there that has been getting a lot of buzz. I don't remember his name, but only a true freshman, I think. So I would probably
bet against it. Yeah,
bet against him starting right away at least. But okay, next quarterback we have here, Tanner Mordecai, going from SMU to Wisconsin, and put up big numbers in his 2 years starting at SMU under Sonny Dykes and then Rhett Lashley. So he's had some good coaching, and now that's going to continue because at Wisconsin, Luke Fickell hired Phil Longo as their offensive coordinator from North Carolina, who just did an incredible job with Sam Howell. Oops.
Bang. Boom. Incredible job. Dang it.
Sam Howell and Drake May. So I think it's a good move by Mordecai, just kind of because he had thought about just going pro, and I guess he got his kind of draft grade back, and it wasn't great. So he figured, all right, I could go back to SMU and do the same thing. And might not make a difference, but let's go with the kind of high upside play, going to play with Phil Longo, and we'll see. I mean, just Wisconsin's offense in general is going to be intriguing because of the big shift, and
could be some growing pains, but
yeah,
good quarterback at least.
Yeah, and we'll just see if the receiving core is good enough. They've tried to address that, and they've got some. I think their top 2 receivers are back from last year. Of course, brought in some transfers, or at least C.J. Williams.
It's not like USC. Longo didn't have good rushing attacks while he was at UNC. So
he runs the ball for sure. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see.
Allen. All right, moving on to Sam Hartman from Wake Forest to Notre Dame. He was obviously one of the biggest transfers this year. He put up some video game numbers while he was at Wake during his career, especially the last couple years. He's thrown the most touchdowns in ACC history, number 2 all-time in ACC in passing yards, only behind Phillip Rivers, one of my favorite players. Mm-hmm. But this was all done in Wayne Ruggiero's prolific offensive system under Dave Clawson. This will be much different than the offense, that he had at Wake. Notre Dame doesn't run the up-tempo, no huddle, shotgun, that slow mesh with the running back, quarterback play. So, but I understand why he made the move. It's to go to a system that can make him, more NFL ready. But I personally have been a little more reserved on the Hartman kind of excitement going to Notre Dame because he's not going to match the performance at Wake. I feel like there's this kind of the sense from the media that Hartman can come in and just have similar production. And I just don't think that's the case. Jared Parker, the new offensive coordinator, said himself that their offense is on the other side of the spectrum to what he had. So I'm not doubting that Hartman can succeed, but it's going to be a learning curve.
Sounds like you are. Sounds like you're doubting. Yeah. I got to be honest.
Well, yeah. But so, I mean, because the offensive coaches actually have said he's got to learn to go under center. He's got to learn to break a huddle. He's got to learn to identify the defenses for certain protections. So that's a lot of, new for him. But he's obviously very gifted. So I think he can overcome that. He's a weight kid. They're pretty smart. So overall, though, I don't think he'll be a savior, but I do think he's certainly going to improve the Notre Dame offense. They were 49th in SP plus offense last year. It might not be elite or anything, but I think he can definitely stretch the field more than what Tyler Buckner and Drew Pine did a year ago.
Yeah.
And that should open up more holes for the running game too.
Yeah, I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, we've saw another transfer from Notre Dame. They had it a few years back. Jack Cohn come in and did really good job at Notre Dame, but he was coming from a more similar kind of system-esque. Wisconsin was a little more traditional like Notre Dame, so he fit a little bit more. But
and I think there's more expected from Hartman than there was from
Totally.
Cohn.
Oh yeah, Cohn was a pleasant surprise for them. They didn't expect what he did, so that's a good point. We're just gonna keep going with Wisconsin here. We got Graham Mertz. He's transferring from Wisconsin to Florida. This one, I mean, there's no guarantee that he's gonna obviously win the job there at Florida. He's kind of battling it out with another former Big Ten quarterback in Jack Miller. But let's just assume he does win it. Clearly a downgrade for the Gators at that position, it seems to me. Mertz struggled to put up efficient numbers as the Badgers quarterback, even when he had, kind of a solid ground game to lean on, and they didn't really ask a ton of him. Anthony Richardson, Florida's quarterback last year, his passing numbers obviously weren't that great, but his ability to run was a huge part, of what he could do, and he gave the Florida a good advantage on that. And Mertz just can't run like that, not even close. So past couple years for Mertz, 29 touchdown passes, 21 interceptions. That is pretty horrible in this day and age. Less than 60% completion percentage, threw for just over 7 yards per attempt. Can't run. It's hard to get excited if you're, a Florida fan. Like, really? Like, this guy has a legit chance to start, and was terrible at Wisconsin, or at least not good, very good. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can convince them that he's a better passer, but it's clearly a downgrade, I think, for Florida here.
Okay. Well, I've got another guy that struggled at his previous stop, but is going into a much better situation than Graham Mertz. Tyler Buckner, Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about a lot of the same teams here. But so he is following his offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, from Notre Dame to Alabama. And this one was just intriguing because of we've talked about this before, but what it told us about maybe how Nick Saban and Alabama feel about their quarterback position, because Buckner, was bad when he played at Notre Dame. He struggled with injuries, so he really didn't play a ton. But, he's got the pedigree, and I guess Tommy Rees likes him enough to think that he can come in and compete. But, again, that's concerning about what it says about the current quarterbacks on the roster. So he's obviously far from a guarantee to start. There's going to be a big battle there. There's still, at least 3 quarterbacks in that race, and maybe more if you include one of the freshmen. But yeah, I just, if he does play a lot, I'm fascinated to see how he does, because it's just every quarterback, lately has succeeded big time at Alabama. It's just hard to imagine a quarterback going in and being bad. So how much will that supporting cast make a difference for Buckner? It'll be interesting to see.
It will be. I'm fascinating to watch there. Because I did see a thing about every time Saban, like over the last decade or whatever, that Bama has had a new quarterback, they haven't had an incumbent, that guy has just torn it up. Like you doubt him, and then boom. You doubt him, and then boom. So we'll see if.
And what's crazy is this it's weird, because if they hadn't taken in Buckner, I'd be like, well, yeah, Ty Simpson's just going to go out there and he'll have a great year.
Yeah, I know.
But like an incoming transfer makes me feel worse about the current quarterbacks. It does. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to Brennan Armstrong. He's transferring from Virginia to NC State, and he's a transfer that I'm bullish on. You might wonder why, given that last year he really regressed, completed only 50% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 12 picks, not good. But one of the main reasons that I like him is because he's getting his old offensive coordinator back, Robert Anae. 2 years ago, under Anae, he put up just massive numbers, setting school records at Virginia, 65% completions, 31 touchdowns, 9 yards per attempt, like on and on. And Armstrong himself mentioned recently that he kind of has a let it fly mindset with Anae as the play caller, compared to kind of more, he was a little bit more timid, kind of protect the ball in his one season under Tony Elliott. So again, not the best look for Elliott, after his end of his reign at Clemson and the first year at Virginia. But I feel like the confidence that he has with the Anae system is going to get him back to looking more like what he did 2 years ago. And NC State's offense should dramatically improve because they finished 94th in scoring last year.
Yeah, they were disappointing on offense, man. That was rough. So, yep, I'm with you there. All right, moving on to let's see. Let's go to Hudson Card. He's transferring from Texas to Purdue. This is an interesting one because of kind of the movement around him as far as the new coaching staff that he's going to be also walking into. I liked Card as a player. I think you could definitely make the argument that he maybe was the better quarterback last year at Texas over Quinn Ewers. Card came in and played pretty well against Bama when Ewers went down, and then the next 3 games where he started, completed nearly 70% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, and had a good attempts, yards per attempt, nearly 9. So some solid numbers there. But I think the issue for me, at least with this transfer here, is he's transferring to Purdue after Jeff Brom left for Louisville. If Brom was still there, then I'd be very, very excited to see what he can do, because Brom is just a quarterback guru. But now you got Ryan Walters as the head coach. He's a defensive guy, so he's kind of hand on the reins, at least of the offense, you would think, to the offensive coordinator, and that's Graham Harrell. And he's been less than impressive. I mean, he can still do all right, but last year at West Virginia, not good. They were 79th in the country in yards per play. So I'm a way less confident in a guy like Graham Harrell getting the most out of a quarterback than I am Jeff Brom. So I'm a little reluctant. I do think it's going to be a downgrade because I liked Aiden O'Connell and I liked what Jeff Brom was able to do for him. So the production standpoint from that position, I think, is going to go down.
Okay, negative Ryan over here.
Sorry.
Let's see. My last quarterback I want to talk about is, well, it's a team that I'm not. Of course, am not very bullish on at all, Colorado. So I think the team is going to be very bad, but still intrigued by Shedeur Sanders, following his dad from Jackson State, because he was, former 4-star recruit. So he has the pedigree, and he put up monster numbers, albeit at the FCS level. But I think this offense does have some potential. I think the defense is going to be terrible for Colorado, and that'll hold them back. And it's not like I think the offense is going to be good, but compared to last year when they were like 128th in ESPN's offensive efficiency metric per FPI. So I think they have the potential to be one of the most improved offenses in college football, because they brought in some, solid transfers, skill talent wise at running back and receiver. They at least have, I think, a good amount of, returning starts at offensive line. Now, the offensive line's not good, but anyway, I just think that they're going to make a huge jump, and Shedeur Sanders, I mean, it's going to be a huge story.
It will be. All right. I'm talking about NC State all of a sudden, a decent amount. Devin Leary is going from NC State to Kentucky. So Leary, he got injured halfway through the season last year. He had a torn pec, but his stats over the last season and a half, he threw 46 touchdowns to 9 picks, 64% completions. So I'm also not too worried about Leary learning a new system, because I think this is going to be his 4th offensive coordinator. So he's adapted pretty well to change. And also, I like Liam Cohen, who's coming back to Kentucky as the offensive coordinator after a stint with the Rams, because 2 years ago, he was the OC at Kentucky. He helped Will Levis kind of rise the QB draft charts, and he had his best season. And that 2021 Kentucky team under Cohen finished 21st in SP Plus offense. Last year without Cohen, and still with Will Levis, they fell to 97th. So that's not great. So I think with an upgrade at offensive coordinator, you can argue that maybe it's an upgrade at quarterback. I think Kentucky's offense should really improve. I think Leary will have a solid season. Should actually, when you look at it, he actually could be one of the best SEC quarterbacks. just this year going
looking
in,
back, a lot of unknowns: Georgia, Bama,
Georgia,
Florida's, Auburn,
like
Tennessee,
obviously a couple of
new,
those will
know.
be good, but
Yeah.
exactly. There's
And
a lot
some of the others have better supporting casts. Like Kentucky's O-line was pretty bad last year, so I don't know if
is KJ Jefferson the best guy. I mean, at this point,
he's up there. Jaden Daniels, KJ Jefferson.
Jaden Daniels, I mean, because they're the proven guys coming back.
Yeah,
maybe they won't.
But then Heupel's going to get a lot out of Milton.
Will Joe Milton? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
maybe hopefully we're not missing somebody obvious, but
Jackson Dart. I mean, like there's it's Will Rogers.
Will Rogers is a good one actually. Yeah.
But
he's
kind of a new But there's it's not like it's not Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker to start the season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Stetson Bennett. No, just kidding.
Right, Stetson, exactly.
Okay. Any snubs that we didn't discuss? I mean, you could go really deep on this list. One that I was almost put on my list was Kade McNamara at Iowa, just because we talked about it last episode with Brian Ferentz trying to get that 25 points per game. I'm just intrigued by the Iowa offense, and I mean. McNamara, he's competent. Like I went back and looked at his numbers again at Michigan, and it was like even not as it was more unimpressive than I remember. But he was solid.
It's hard not to be an upgrade over what they had. So
yes,
we could go with Colin Schlee, but who's not sure if he's even going to start. But UCLA, they've been pretty good on offense lately. So
speaking of Colin Schlee, going from Kent State to UCLA, I forgot to bring up for Colorado. Another reason I'm intrigued by their offense is Sean Lewis, the former head coach at Kent State,
that's right.
is the OC there, and I love that hire for Colorado.
Yeah, he's a good one. The only one I was going to bring up is you got the Ole Miss quarterback room, because you've obviously got Jackson Dart, but then the two transfers, Walker Howard, the young guy from LSU, and Spencer Sanders coming in from Oklahoma State. That's just a crazy quarterback race to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm interested to see Jeff Sims for Nebraska. See how he does. It's a clear cut starter after Casey Thompson left, and I mean Georgia Tech obviously could not get off the ground all that much with Jeff Collins and drastic change of offense, and he was kind of just thrust into that when really probably wasn't even ready. But his talent is undeniable, so we'll see if he can kind of get it more corralled in a different environment.
And we got Peyton Thorne going to Auburn. Always Hugh Freeze does a good job with quarterbacks. So if Thorne gets the starting job, then I'm sure he'll do pretty well. All right. Well, thanks for checking out this episode of the College Football Bros. If you want to support us, we'd really appreciate that. You can go to patreon.com/collegefootballbros, and you'll get bonus episodes. You get to join our Discord. So again, we'd appreciate that. And other than that, we will see you next week.